Happy New Year. If you're just getting back in the rhythm, welcome to Guided by Faith. I'm your host, Jay Holland, and I know many of you are headed back to school today or back to work, getting into the routine. I'm really encouraged and proud of those of you who managed to listen to Guided by Faith over Christmas break. But if not, man, way to go jumping back in. We've got a great series this week as you start getting back into the rhythms and routines of life. Many of you guys actually went with me on a youth retreat over Christmas break. We talked about the theme of anti-fragile faith, how to build the kind of life and kind of faith that is resilient. So when the storms of life come, you're ready and prepared. And not only do they not break you, but instead they help make you kind of that strong refuge that thrives and helps everybody else. There's a couple of scriptures I want to share with you today, and we're going to kind of build out over the week different practices, different things you need to address to really have a resilient faith, an anti-fragile faith, if you want to use that word. Let me start with Matthew 7:24 through 27. Jesus says at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, "Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on the house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like the foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it." So just a couple things I want to point out about this passage. Number one, Jesus tells us that whether you are wise or whether you're foolish, whether you're seeking to follow and obey him or not, you're going to experience storms. The rains are going to come, the waters are going to rise, the wind's going to blow and beat against your house. And we know walking into this year, hopefully a lot of us have hopes and dreams and great plans, but there's going to be things happen that are crisis, that are calamity, that are things that we don't expect. And we know that certain people, when they encounter those hard things, are going to crumble, and other people can encounter the very same things, and not only do they not crumble, but they end up being a blessing to the people around them. And so our question this week that we want to walk through and answer is, how do I become the kind of person who doesn't crumble in these things, but instead is solid and steady and can actually be a help and a blessing to those around? Jesus said this happens when you hear his words and obey them, when you actually follow his teachings, not just when you hear them. And so let's go not just to the whole Sermon on the Mount, but the ultimate core of the teachings of Jesus we can find later in Matthew. Matthew 22:35 through 40. One of them, a lawyer, asked Jesus a question to test him. "Teacher, which is the great commandment of the law?" And Jesus said to them, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and prophets." And so if we now take these two passages that we've just read, I think we've got something to build on the week. Jesus says, I'm not asking 1,000 things of you. It's ultimately one thing. It's love God with all your being. Now, love your neighbor as yourself is really just like the other side of the coin of loving God with all your heart, because your neighbor's made in the image of God. So if I'm fully loving God with everything I have, I'm going to naturally love my neighbor as myself. Jesus says this is the deepest and greatest commandment. And then Jesus also says, those who hear my commands and obey them are like that house built on the rock. And so what I want to just pose as we walk into 2026 is the reality that the greatest possible thing you can do to thrive, to not just survive calamity, but to thrive, is to make this year about loving God with all of your being. And we're going to talk this week about different aspects of your life. You are created, you don't just have a soul, you are a soul. And you are created with just multiple aspects of your life. I have a spirit that connects with the Lord. I have a body that I live this experienced world in. I have a mind, and my mind has thoughts, and I can focus my mind or it can run wild. I have emotions, and emotions are something that God gave me to feel the world, to experience the world. I have relationships. And these are ways that I interact with people. These are ways that I learn about God and that I express my love for God. And we're going to look this week at ways to show God love through all of these different aspects. But let's just quickly start with spirit because it's an obvious one. Now, I define spirit as my spirit is the thing that connects me with God. God is spirit. He made me in his image. And I like to think of my spirit as the way that I make connection with God. And so if I'm going to show God love with all of my heart, mind, soul, and strength, the first core way that I can show God love is to connect with him. So essentially, I'm going to spend time with God. And every day that's going to maybe look a little bit different because if I'm in a relationship with somebody, every interaction I have isn't going to look identical. But what does my time with God look like? Ultimately, it comes down to time in God's word and time talking to God in prayer. And this is the core of my relationship with God. It's how I show him love by showing up to spend time with him. So I want you to look this year, starting today, that spending time with God is not just some duty that you check off a list. It's an opportunity to develop your love relationship with God. And then the other way that I show my love for God is by worship. And my worship could be singing, it could be serving, it could be giving to somebody, it could be gathering together with the church, but I'm showing my love of God through my worship. So ultimately what I want to do before we get into any of the others is just encourage you. Make it a priority every day this year to spend time with God. Spend time in God's word, spend time talking to God through prayer. If you do all of these others and you don't do that, you've missed the heart of the love relationship with God. But if you spend time in God's word and spend time in prayer, then I think all of these other things start to fall in place if we give them a little attention. So that's it. Your challenge for this year, live a resilient faith. And the way that you grow in a resilient faith is by pursuing a love relationship with Jesus. And we'll explore that more as the week goes on, but that's enough for today. How are you going to spend time with God today?